Bitcoin wasn't an institutional asset. It wasn't cool on Wall Street. People thought it might be toxic. We went from an oddity, tulip bulbs maybe going away, to an entire array of analysts and investment banks starting to have an opinion. And of course, if you look at all the prices up there, their opinion is all positive, it's all bullish. Technology investors have embraced Bitcoin. What you see there is the Bank of America investment analyst equating Bitcoin to something as profound as the light bulb, the Model T, the World Wide Web. Right? That's a very important rotation. Bitcoin is a technology. Bitcoin's not a speculation. Bitcoin is not an oddity. Bitcoin is not anarchy. Bitcoin is just the next great technology.
Bitcoin wasn't always welcome on Wall Street. For years, it was seen as speculative at best and toxic at worst. Most institutions ignored it, and those who didn't often dismissed it as a passing trend, the digital equivalent of tulip mania. But that perception has changed. What used to be written off as a weird trend is now getting loads of attention from major investment banks, most of which are now bullish on its future. Michael Saylor has been calling this for years, and with Bitcoin recently reaching a new all-time high, his thesis is gaining undeniable validation. Bitcoin is now being compared to foundational breakthroughs like the light bulb and the internet. Saylor sees this as the natural outcome of a financial system beginning to recognize what Bitcoin really is. Not speculation, but the next great technological transformation. Make sure to stick around until the end of the video, as Michael Saylor explains why Bitcoin's long-term price potential is still far from being realized, and how it could become the most valuable asset of the digital era.
I presented a forecast in July, and I said, I really think my base case is Bitcoin's going to grow 29% a year for the next 21 years. And that's going to cause it to appreciate to $13 million Bitcoin. We had a macro forecast, and that meant that Bitcoin was growing to be 7% of all global assets. And it was growing to be its own asset class. And you can see here, $280 trillion, but the preeminent monetary asset in the world. So all of that was last July. Bitcoin was $65,000. What happened since? 11 months. Okay, this is extraordinary. I was, as Joe said, I was bullish last July. I've always been bullish, but when Bitcoin dipped to $16,000 during crypto winter, I was bullish. But stuff that's happened in the past 11 months has been extraordinary. The White House has embraced Bitcoin. This is an extraordinary development. We didn't anticipate this. We hoped that we would get a favorable administration, and we hope we get support, and we had this inkling, but November 5th brought a sea change in politics, and although we thought we might have a pro-Bitcoin president, we didn't think we'd get a strategic Bitcoin reserve. We didn't think that the president would say, America will be the Bitcoin superpower of the world. This is an amazing development. The new administration, J.D. Vance, pro-Bitcoin, Robert F. Kennedy, pro-Bitcoin, Tulsi Gabbard, pro-Bitcoin, Kelly Loeffler, pro-Bitcoin, Paul Atkins, pro-Bitcoin, Brian Kentez, pro-Bitcoin, Scott Bessent, pro-Bitcoin, David Sachs, a new position, cabinet-level position, not just pro-Bitcoin, a cabinet member that would go on television and say Bitcoin is the one decentralized crypto network in the world. It is special. It is the digital commodity, right? The one thing that we've all known, but a cabinet member in the United States government says it. He said it in March of this year. Howard Lutnick, pro-Bitcoin. Kash Patel, pro-Bitcoin. Every one of these cabinet members flipped from 12 months earlier, where there would have been no one that would have been as bullish on Bitcoin as what we saw here. Wall Street embraced Bitcoin. $150 billion of capital, 1.4 million Bitcoin. This entire dynamic started in January of last year, but it accelerated after July. Public companies. My company was the first public company to adopt Bitcoin. People thought we were crazy. I thought we were late. Like some of you, I kept thinking that I got it right in 2013. Like, why didn't I buy in 2013? In 2020, I thought I was late. But what happened next is the second company, the third, then 130. Then companies like Trump Media and GameStop in 21. And now companies are racing to get into the Bitcoin 100. Used to be, we thought, oh, it'd be great. There's 10 Bitcoin companies and 20. Now there's 100. Now there's more than 100. Now we're all going to compete to move up the leaderboard. Yeah, let the games begin.
Michael Saylor predicted last year that Bitcoin would grow 29% annually over the next 2 decades, eventually reaching $13 million per coin. Since then, events have moved faster than anyone expected. Institutions that used to be skeptical are now openly embracing Bitcoin. Politicians are calling it a strategic reserve and recognizing it as a unique digital commodity. At the same time, Wall Street has poured in over $150 billion, and more than 100 public companies now hold Bitcoin. What started as a fringe idea is rapidly becoming the foundation of a new financial era. Saylor believes this transformation is already underway. And for those still waiting, he has one message: act now before it's too late.
Bitcoin wasn't an institutional asset. It wasn't cool on Wall Street. People thought it might be toxic. Well, now I have a whole set of equity analysts that write research and publish their research to investors, and they put a price target on Bitcoin. So now you have the entire equity capital markets embracing the asset class, writing about it, opining on it. You know, we went from an oddity, tulip bulbs maybe going away, to an entire array of analysts and investment banks starting to have an opinion. And of course, if you look at all the prices up there, their opinion is all positive, it's all bullish. Technology investors have embraced Bitcoin. What you see there is the Bank of America investment analyst equating Bitcoin to something as profound as the light bulb, the Model T, the World Wide Web. Right? That's a very important rotation. Bitcoin is a technology. Bitcoin's not a speculation. Bitcoin is not an oddity. Bitcoin is not anarchy. Bitcoin is just the next great technology. Financial regulators embrace Bitcoin. This you never believe. The head of the OCC says banks should support Bitcoin. The Fed says it's okay for banks. They should get on and start supporting Bitcoin. The accountants say you need to provide fair accounting for Bitcoin. The SEC says it's okay to create ETFs of Bitcoin. This is an amazing development. Capitol Hill embraced Bitcoin. The House, the Senate, the Cabinet. You've got 3 bills: the Clarity Act, the Genius Act, the Bitcoin Act, all moving through Congress right now. This is something nobody guessed, no one conceived of a year ago. States in the United States are embracing Bitcoin. governors, right? There's legislation working its way through state legislative branches everywhere. Bitcoin is money for everybody. Bitcoin is for everybody, and everybody is getting interested in it. International governments embrace Bitcoin. Spokespeople for the UK, for Ireland, for Pakistan, for Bhutan, for El Salvador, for Russia, in China, in Hong Kong, in Europe, everywhere, right? They all have an opinion. Their opinion is this is very important. This is an extraordinary movement. The crypto industry has embraced Bitcoin. And this is extraordinary. You should all give yourself a hand because you've won. These are all public statements from the last 12 months. And let me tell you how I interpret this. This is everybody in the crypto ecosystem acknowledging that Bitcoin is the foundation of the crypto economy. Bitcoin is the reserve currency of the crypto economy. Bitcoin is the one central, certain, unshakable protocol and the fulcrum, the focal point of the entire industry. Everything else is built on top of it. There's been an unprecedented coalition that's come together in support of Bitcoin, and I think a realization that the entire industry needs Bitcoin as their ethically sound, economically sound, technically sound foundation if they're to have any future. And I think you guys should be very, very proud of that development. 12 months, what's going on? Bitcoin is still running harder than it has been, up 61%. The Magnificent Seven and the S&P are underperforming. They're struggling. The tariff wars, the trade wars have been a challenge for them. There's been a general mainstream lagging of confidence, and that's caused a surge in gold. But Bitcoin is running much harder than gold. Real estate soldiers on, and bonds continue to fail. Bitcoin's outperforming all asset classes this decade too. So it continues with what you would expect. 56% on average ARR for the past nearly 5 years. More than double the Mag 7. That's more than about double the S&P. You've got gold, a little bit of a surge starting to catch up, but gold's still underperforming the S&P, and real estate less. This is an important chart. Here's what this chart is telling you. The cost of equity is 13%. That means that if a company's capitalized on gold, real estate, bonds, soybeans, oil, any other commodity, it can't beat the cost of equity. You cannot sell equity to buy real estate. It's dilutive. There is only one asset that a company in the world can hold that you can capitalize on that is higher than the cost of equity, and that is Bitcoin. And so you see the explosion in Bitcoin treasury companies is because now that the world's recognized a digital commodity, they also recognize it beats the cost of equity. That means that every public company, in theory, should recapitalize on Bitcoin, because when they sell equity, they're actually generating profits. They're creating an accretive transaction for their shareholders, right? The world is waking up to this. You see that hence you see an explosion, in the shares of Metaplanet and Smarter Web and H100 and Blockchain Group, right? This is going to continue. These companies are going to catch fire everywhere in the world, in every capital market, for one simple reason. Investors can see that 56% is more than 13%. It's just that simple. And it's a very powerful dynamic. And yet Bitcoin is just 20 basis points of global wealth. So here's an interesting thing. We are now at an inflection point. We have all the information to know Bitcoin is winning, and yet the majority, 99.8% of the capital in the world, still pretends and acts like it isn't. Most is still oblivious. You know something the rest of the world has not yet acknowledged, and yet it couldn't be clearer to all of us in this room. There's a monetary revolution afoot.
So there's Michael Saylor with his long-term outlook on Bitcoin. Saylor's made it clear that Bitcoin's global monetary revolution is still in its early days. Institutions, governments, and capital markets are waking up, but most of the world hasn't. With just a fraction of global wealth in Bitcoin, the opportunity is still massive. The smart money is already moving. The question now is whether you're ahead of it or behind. Now, if you want to stay most up to date on the crypto and Bitcoin world, subscribe to my daily 5-minute crypto newsletter. It's a concise resource for the latest expert predictions, breaking news, and top on-chain analysis, trusted by over 90,000 subscribers for insightful crypto investment information. Don't miss out on the opportunity to stay informed in the crypto market. The link is in the description below. I hope you all enjoyed today's video and that it gave you some value. I'll see you all at the next one, and as always, all the best.